My marriage to Susan was built on what looked like her crazy, obsessive infatuation with me. At least, that's how it seemed to everyone watching from the outside. But on our wedding night, she straight up left me alone in the bridal suite and ran off to take care of her feverish intern. When she finally came back, her face was full of guilt. I'm sorry. He's all alone in a big city. It's kind of pitiful. I didn't say a word. Instead, I picked up my phone and sent a message to a contact saved as Iris. Come keep me company. You know the address. The second Susan saw the message, she completely lost it. Who are you, and why do you have my husband's phone number? A voice message played from the phone, sweet, flirty, and a little teasing. Hey, cease. I'm the kept woman he's been raising for years. Susan's apologetic expression froze instantly. She rushed over, snatched the phone out of my hand, and stared at the voice message on the screen. Her fingers went white from gripping the phone so hard. What is this? Who is this? She held the phone up, her hands shaking. Her usual calm, self-controlled, holier-than-thou sane act gone. The same act where she was always so tolerant of me. I stood up from the sofa and casually poured myself a glass of red wine. The bottle had originally been prepared for our wedding night. A friend, I replied calmly. A friend? What kind of friend calls herself a kept woman? Susan's voice suddenly turned sharp. You've been keeping another woman behind my back. Her eyes were full of disbelief. But the look on her face wasn't the rage of a wife catching her husband cheating. It was more like the shock of someone realizing the cute little pet they adored had suddenly bitten back. I gently swirled the wine in my glass. Didn't you also go take care of your pitiful intern on our wedding night? That's different, Susan shot back instantly. Marco is just a kid. He had a fever and was all alone in a big city with no one to rely on. I want to take care of him. We're completely innocent. Oh, completely innocent. I nodded slowly. So that means you could ditch me in the bridal suite and spend the entire night taking care of another guy. You? Susan was speechless. She took a deep breath, clearly trying to hold back her emotions, and switched back into her usual calm, lecturing tone. Zachary, don't be unreasonable. I already explained it to you. Marco, My phone vibrated again. I took it back. It was a new message from Iris. Hubby, I'm here. I'm at the door. Can you open it for me? Susan's face turned deathly pale instantly. You let her come here? You actually let her come to our marital home. Ignoring her high-pitched screaming, I walked over and opened the door. Standing outside was a young woman in a perfectly tailored slip dress. Her long hair flowed over her shoulders, and she wore a sweet, almost syrupy smile. The moment she stepped inside, she ignored the frozen stiff Susan and jumped straight into my arms, wrapping her arms around my neck. Hubby, I waited so long. You finally let me come here. Iris's voice was irresistibly seductive. She even tilted her head and gave Susan a deliberately provocative look. Hey, cease. You must be Susan, right? Hubby mentions you all the time. Susan's whole body started trembling. Get out. Get out right now. She pointed at Iris and then turned to me. Zachary, make her leave. Have you lost your damn mind? Susan, I said coldly, gently stroking Iris's hair, you should get one thing straight. Tonight, you were the one who abandoned your husband first and ran off to meet another man. I didn't meet him privately. Marco is a patient. Then Iris is a patient too. I lowered my head and kissed Iris on the forehead. She's suffering from acute husband deprivation syndrome. It's especially severe tonight. She needs treatment. You're shameless. Iris giggled in my arms. Hey sis, don't be mad. Didn't you go take care of that pitiful intern? Hubby was all alone too. Of course I had to come take care of him. She perfectly copied Susan's earlier tone, every single word stabbing straight into Susan's nerves. With one arm around Iris's waist, I walked past Susan toward the master bedroom. This house is big, I said, stopping at the bedroom door. There are plenty of guest rooms, but I don't think you'd want to stay here tonight anyway. Zachary. Susan let out a hysterical scream. I closed the master bedroom door, shutting her fury outside. Soon, Iris's deliberately exaggerated, sultry moans echoed from inside. Outside the door, there was a moment of dead silence. Then frantic pounding. and finally the furious sound of high heels storming down the hallway. I woke up the next morning feeling refreshed and clear-headed. Iris was still fast asleep. She really had taken good care of me last night. I got up, washed up, changed into something casual, and didn't bother waking her. When I walked out of the bedroom, the living room looked like a war zone. Susan had clearly vented all her rage last night. Broken wine bottles were scattered across the floor, and our wedding photo had been smashed on the ground. In a photo frame, she was holding my arm, smiling softly and elegantly. To outsiders, she always played the role of the perfect wife who was madly in love with me. Expressionless, I stepped over the broken glass and brewed myself a cup of coffee. There were dozens of missed calls on my phone, all from Susan. I ignored them. Instead, my father-in-law's call came through. "Zachary, you bastard. What the hell did you do to Susan?" The moment I answered, his furious roar blasted through the phone. "Dad, maybe you should ask your precious daughter where she ran off to on her wedding night." "You." My father-in-law choked on his words for a moment. Didn't she explain it already? That kid Marco had a high fever. Susan felt sorry for him. "You're already married. How can you, as a husband, be this petty?" "Dad," I said, taking a sip of coffee, "if I ran off tonight to take care of a female colleague with a high fever and didn't come home all night, would you still tell Susan to be magnanimous? You're twisting things. How can men and women be the same? Susan loves you so much, and this is how you treat her. Don't forget who gave you everything you have now." I laughed. "Dad, aren't you mistaken about something? Everything I have, I earned myself. And that approval you helped me with back then, if I remember correctly, the consulting fee I paid you equaled your total salary for 10 years, didn't it?" The line went completely silent. Susan's father held a bit of power in the urban planning department. When I was starting my business, one of my projects needed his help to secure qualifications. Susan was the one who took the initiative to approach me back then. She probably thought I didn't know how much benefit her father had gained by abusing his position. She probably thought even less that I married her because I was obsessively in love with her. "Zachary, what do you mean by that? Are you threatening me?" My father-in-law's voice dropped. "I'm just stating facts." I hung up the phone, not bothering to listen to any more nonsense. At some point, Iris had woken up. Barefoot, she walked out of the bedroom, loosely wrapped in my shirt, her long legs smooth and straight. She hugged me from behind and pressed her face against my back. "Hubby, is sis never coming back?" "What? You want to be the lady of the house?" I turned around and pinched her chin. "I don't want that at all." Iris tilted her face up, a sharp, calculating glint in her eyes. "I just want to stay with you. You buy me a big house, buy me pretty bags. Being a wife is exhausting. Look at her. She even had to pretend to take care of some intern. So fake." I laughed. That was what made Iris so appealing. She was clear-headed and never hid what she wanted. "Exactly." I patted her cheek. "Go get dressed. I'll take you out to buy gifts." "Thank you, hubby." She jumped happily, kissed me on the cheek, and ran back into the bedroom. I glanced at the messages Susan had sent. She was still raging, calling me shameless, accusing me of betraying her, cursing me for being heartless and ungrateful. I casually put her on Do Not Disturb. This little game needed a change in direction. I spent the entire day shopping at the mall with Iris. She knew her limits well. Everything she picked was from the newest collections, but she never exceeded the budget I set. I bought her a watch and several handbags. That evening, I took her to the most expensive Japanese restaurant in the city. It was a place Susan had mentioned many times before, but I had never taken her there. She always acted frugal in front of me, saying places like this were a waste of money. Yet she had no problem using my money to buy a computer worth tens of thousands for that intern. Ironically, the moment I sat down, Susan's call came through from a different number. "Zachary, where the hell are you? Why aren't you replying to my messages?" "Eating. With that bitch. You come back right now. We need to talk." Her voice turned sharp again. "I'm with Iris. I don't have time." "Zachary, don't forget your company's approval for next quarter hasn't gone through yet. Do you believe I can have my dad? And what will your dad do?" I cut her off. "Come beg me in person right now." The line went silent. "Susan, you don't seriously think your father's tiny bit of power can block me, do you?" I calmly picked up a slice of sashimi. I suggest you worry about your father's position first. I heard the disciplinary committee has recently been investigating urban development projects. Why you're talking nonsense? Her voice was clearly panicked now. Whether I am or not. Why don't you go home and ask him yourself? I hung up. Iris looked at me curiously. Hubby, you've even got her dad under control. Kids shouldn't ask so many questions. I placed a piece of fatty tuna in her bowl. Just eat. Iris nodded obediently and didn't ask anything else. After dinner, I took Iris back to another apartment under my name. This was her real gilded cage. The moment she walked in, she spun around excitedly in the living room. Wow, this place is way better than that marital home. And this river view, I love it so much, hubby. She jumped onto me like a kitten, rubbing against me. Just as I picked her up, ready to head to the bedroom, my assistant called. Boss, Miss Susan is making a scene downstairs at the company. She's demanding to see you. Let her. But she says if you don't see her, she'll die right there. She also brought a lot of reporters. I frowned. So Susan wanted to play the public opinion card. She probably still thought I was the small company boss who depended on her family's connections and cared about reputation. Got it. I set Iris down. Go take a shower first. I'll head out for a bit. She looked reluctant, but still nodded. Come back early. I drove to the company building. Sure enough, Susan was sitting on the steps outside, wearing a white dress and carefully done light makeup. She looked thin, fragile, and pitiful enough to stir sympathy. A circle of reporters surrounded her. Cameras and microphones pointed straight at her. The moment she saw my car, Susan stood up, her eyes instantly turning red. She rushed over and slapped my car window. Zachary, get out of the car. You heartless bastard. Why are you treating me like this? The reporters swarmed forward. I rolled down the window and looked at her coldly. Susan, are you done yet? You call this done? Zachary, you brought another woman home on our wedding night. Do you have any conscience? I treated you so well. I loved you so much. She cried beautifully, tearfully accusing me to the cameras. Look at him, living off his wife and still cheating. Director Susan must have been blind. She loves him so much and he's still not satisfied. Men like this deserve to be exposed. Let him suffer social death. The murmurs grew louder and louder. I didn't get out of the car. Instead, I took out my phone and dialed the police. Hello, I'd like to report an incident. Someone is causing a disturbance at the entrance of my company and seriously affecting normal operations. Yes, they're also maliciously defaming my personal reputation. Susan's sobbing stopped instantly. She stared at me in disbelief. Why you? You're calling the police on me? What else did you expect? I put my phone away. Director Susan, you know the law too. Gathering a crowd to cause trouble and defame someone. How many days of detention do you think that gets? The reporter's flashes burned even brighter. They clearly hadn't expected this reaction from me. Susan's face turned red, then pale. She probably thought I'd care about marital sentiment and corporate image. That she had me cornered. Unfortunately for her, I don't care at all. The police arrived quickly. Susan and the reporters were all taken away to give statements. As the victim, I went to the station too. The officer who received us was a middle-aged policeman. He looked at me, then at Susan, who was still sobbing, and sighed like a classic peacemaker. Your husband and wife. Couples fight, quarrel by the bed, make up at the foot of it. Why make such a big fuss and bring it to the police station? Officer, I said calmly. She wasn't just arguing with me. She brought reporters to block the entrance of my company, publicly defamed me, and threatened my personal safety. Susan jerked her head up. When did I ever threaten you? You said if I didn't see you, you died downstairs at my company. That's not a threat. Susan's face flushed red. That was just something I said in anger. Oh, something said in anger. I turned to the officer. Officer, if she had actually caused an incident in front of my company, who would be responsible? She gathered reporters and openly accused me of living off my wife and being unfaithful. My legal team has already collected evidence and is preparing to sue her for defamation. The officer's expression became serious. He looked at Susan. Ms. Susan, Your behavior was indeed excessive. Family disputes should be resolved privately. Gathering a crowd like this. He cheated first. Susan shouted emotionally. On our wedding night, he brought another woman home. I'm the victim. Susan, I said coldly. Are you sure you want to discuss our wedding night here? I deliberately emphasized the words wedding night. Why don't you tell everyone where the bride went that night? Who you ran off to take care of, your pitiful intern. Susan's pupil shrank. She hadn't expected me to bring this up here. That was what? Taking care of a man with a high fever and staying with him all night. Ignoring your husband's calls the entire time. Several officers nearby paused their work, curiosity obvious on their faces. You're slandering me. Susan panicked. Marco is my subordinate. Is he? I nodded and opened a folder on my phone. Perfect. I have some chat records between you and your subordinate here, along with a few photos. Would you like me to show them to everyone? These were things I had prepared long ago. The moment Susan saw the preview images on my screen, all the color drained from her face. Several photos showed her kissing Marco in a private KTV room. Others showed Marco wearing a bathrobe, taking selfies in Susan's single apartment. You investigated me? Her voice trembled. I was getting to know my wife, I said, putting the phone away. Officer, I believe this is no longer a simple family dispute. My wife committed infidelity during the marriage first, and now she's turned around trying to bite me back and destroy my reputation. I request that a case be formally filed. Susan completely lost her composure. She lunged toward me, trying to snatch my phone. Zachary, you can't do this to me. Delete those photos. The police stopped her. Miss Susan, please calm down. No, he can't. How can he treat me like this? I love him so much. She started rambling incoherently, trying to salvage the situation with her well-rehearsed, obsessive love performance. I just watched her coldly. Officer, I'm tired. My lawyer will handle the rest. Leaving those words behind, I turned and walked out of the police station. I knew it. Susan's act was finally over. Chapter 5. I had just gotten back into the car when my mother-in-law's call came through. Her voice wasn't as domineering as before. Instead, it carried a hint of ingratiation and urgency. Zachary, what on earth happened between you and Susan? Why was she taken away by the police? Hurry and go get her out. There's no grudge between husband and wife that lasts overnight. Mom, I said while starting the car, Susan cheated during the marriage and brought reporters to defame me. I don't want to see her right now. Cheated? That's impossible. Susan loves you so much. Is it that intern named Marco? Oh dear, Susan is just too soft-hearted. She can't stand seeing people suffer. That child is all alone in a big city, so I cut her off. Whether she's soft-hearted or not, I don't know. What I do know is that she used my money to buy that pitiful intern a car and a house. What? My mother-in-law's voice shot up instantly. The money I gave her for a marital home. She used it as a down payment for that man's apartment. The money I gave her to buy a car, she spent on a vehicle for him instead. All right, she also embezzled funds from her own company, over $300,000. Said it was seed money for his startup. Heavy breathing came through the phone. Are all of these things true? I have the transfer records and that man's property ownership documents. Mom, what do you think will happen if Susan's company finds out she embezzled funds? She fell silent. Zachary, after a long while, she finally spoke with difficulty. For your parents' sake, give Susan another chance. She was just momentarily confused. Don't worry, we'll make her cut things off with that Marco immediately. Too late. I hung up. Susan and Marco's affair spread quickly within her company. Adultery during marriage. Embezzlement of company funds. Keeping it in turn. Any one of those was enough to ruin her completely. She was fired almost immediately and ordered to repay the embezzled $300,000. Susan was utterly stunned. She came to block me outside my company again, this time without reporters. Just herself. The moment she saw me, she rushed over and grabbed my arm. Hubby, I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? There's really nothing between Marco and me. He seduced me. It's all his fault. She shoved all the responsibility away cleanly. I only love you. It was all my fault before Susan. I shook off her hand in disgust. Haven't you had enough of this madly in love with me act? She froze. What do you mean? I knew you were putting on an act from the very beginning. I looked at her deathly pale face and said each word clearly. From the moment you pretended to casually ask about my assets and then took the initiative to pursue me, I knew. Susan staggered back 2 steps. You knew. Of course I knew. Did you really think I was some idiot completely bewitched by you? I let out a mocking laugh. I played along with you for so long because I wanted to see just how fake you could be. You used me, and I used you. Simple as that. You used me as your loyal husband to satisfy your vanity. I used your father's connections to get the qualifications I wanted. Nothing more than a fair transaction. No, that's not it. Susan shook her head desperately. Zachary, I really did love you. Love me? I stepped closer. Is running off on your wedding night to take care of another man loving me? Is using my money to keep another man loving me? Susan, you disgust me. Her last line of defense finally collapsed. She slumped to the ground, her eyes empty. Then why did you marry me if you knew all along? Because I squatted down, leaned close to her ear, and spoke in a voice only the 2 of us could hear. Lifting you up to the heavens and then pulling you down with my own hands. That's pretty entertaining, isn't it? Chapter 6. Susan sat there on the ground, completely dazed. She probably never imagined that the obsessive love script she was so proud of had, from beginning to end, been a play I knowingly acted out with her. She thought she was the hunter. Turns out, she was the prey. Why you're a devil. Takes one to know one. I stood up and straightened my suit. All right, I almost forgot to tell you. Your father has already been suspended and placed under investigation for accepting bribes. I imagine the transfer records of that consulting fee I paid him will be uncovered very soon. Susan snapped her head up, fear flooding her eyes. It was you. You did this. I reported a fact, I said coldly. Did you really think all these years I was just playing along for fun? Susan's father was greedy and stupid. He thought I was just an impatient small-time entrepreneur. What he didn't know was that I had kept evidence of every single transaction he ever made. The reason I waited until now to act was so I could strike on the wedding night, at the exact moment Susan felt most triumphant, and deal her the deadliest blow. Zachary, you'll die a horrible death, she screamed as she lunged at me. I sidestepped casually, letting her crash back onto the ground. Susan, what you should be worrying about now is yourself. Embezzling $300,000 plus your father's case. Your whole family is finished. I didn't look at her again and turned to walk into the company building. A few days later, Marco contacted me on his own. That pitiful intern ran faster than anyone the moment he realized Susan had lost all power. President Zachary, his voice on the phone dripping with flattery. Susan, she's a crazy woman. I have nothing to do with her. She's the one who kept harassing me. Oh, is that so? Really? President Zachary, I have lots of evidence. How she embezzled funds, how she went behind your back. Name your price. I cut him off. Marco paused, then gave a number. 500,000. Deal. I transferred the money to him. Send me everything you have. Then get out of this city. Thank you, President. Thank you so much. I received everything Marco sent. The explicit chat logs Susan had sent him and several intimate videos he had secretly recorded. That guy was even more despicable than I had imagined. I anonymously packaged the materials. One copy went to Susan's lawyer. The other went to her company's disciplinary department. Susan was soon formally arrested for embezzlement. Marco, with that 500,000 in hand, probably planned to start a new life overseas. Unfortunately for him, I had zero intention of letting him go. The moment he arrived at the airport, a few burly men politely invited him away. President Zachary, my assistant, called. The person has been secured. Do exactly as I instructed, I said coldly. Send him to a mining site in Southeast Asia. Let him experience firsthand what it really means to be alone in a big city. Real pitiful. I hung up the phone and looked out the window. This farce was finally over. Chapter 7. The divorce proceedings between Susan and me were completed very quickly. Because the evidence of her crimes was irrefutable, she left with almost nothing. Her family collapsed as well. My father-in-law was sentenced to 10 years. My mother-in-law couldn't withstand the shock and suffered stroke. She was hospitalized. After Susan was released, she came to see me once. She was so thin she was almost unrecognizable. All the arrogance and shrewdness she once had were gone, leaving only dead stillness in her eyes. "Zachary, you won," she said. "I never intended to lose." "I don't understand." She looked at me. "Since you never loved me, why did you play along with me for so long?" "Because..." I looked at her. I like watching my prey struggle. She let out a miserable laugh, turned around, and staggered away. I don't know where she went. And honestly, I don't care. I went back to Iris's apartment. She was wearing a face mask and doing yoga in the living room, her curves fully on display. When she saw me come back, she happily ran over. "Husband, you're back." She tried to throw herself into my arms, but I raised my hand and stopped her. "Go wash your face and change your clothes." Iris froze for a moment. The smile on her face stiffened. "What's wrong?" "I don't like this smell." Her face went pale for a second, but she quickly adjusted herself. "Oh." She ran into the bathroom. I sat down on the sofa and poured myself a glass of wine. Iris came out soon after. She had changed into a conservative silk nightgown, her face clean and bare. "Husband." She carefully sat down beside me. "Are you unhappy?" "No." I pulled her into my arms, my hands slipping under her nightgown. She nestled against me obediently, her body trembling slightly. "Iris, how many years have you been with me?" 3 years. Since my sophomore year in college. "How have I treated you these 3 years?" "You've treated me very well," she said softly. "You bought me a place, bought me bags, and even helped pay off my family's debts. Then how should you repay me?" Iris looked up. A flash of panic passed through her eyes before it was quickly replaced by seductiveness. She leaned in to kiss me, her hands starting to wander. "Husband, I want you." I push her away. "I'm getting married next week." Iris's movements completely froze. All the color drained from her face. "And married?" "Yes." Then what about me?" she asked, trembling. "You?" I smiled and pinched her chin. "You'll still be my canary, of course. As long as you behave." Tears fell from Iris's eyes. I thought. You thought you could become my wife?" I looked at her mockingly. "Iris, you need to be clear about your own position. Someone as self-important as Susan couldn't outplay me. What makes you think you could?" Iris raised her hand as if she wanted to hit me, but in the end that hand fell limply. She lowered her head, tears dropping one by one onto the back of my hand. "Yes, I understand. That's more like it." I pulled her up and threw her onto the sofa. "Tonight, please me." She wiped away her tears and untied the sash of her nightgown. Chapter 8. My new wife was the daughter of a family friend from a long-standing alliance. Her name was Fiona, a very quiet, very intelligent woman. Our marriage was also a union of interests, and we both understood that perfectly well. The wedding was held on a grand scale. Fiona wore her wedding gown, holding my arm with a proper smile on her face. I knew she had her own Intern as well. He was right there among the wedding guests, a young, handsome man watching us with a complicated look in his eyes. I raised my glass and toasted him from afar. Fiona noticed my gesture and leaned toward me. "You don't mind? What about you?" I asked. Fiona smiled. "We're husband and wife, aren't we?" "Yes, husband and wife." We exchanged a glance and drank the ceremonial cross-cupped wine. After the wedding ended, I returned to Iris's apartment. She wasn't there. There was a note left on the table. "Zachary, I'm leaving. I don't want the apartment or the car. I don't want to be your canary anymore." I looked at the note, a little surprised. I had thought she was a girl who only cared about material things. I hadn't expected her to have some backbone. I dialed my assistant. "Check where Iris went." "Boss, she bought a train ticket to a small city. She's already gone. Transfer the apartment under her name and the car too. And drop $5 million into her account as well." The assistant hesitated. "Boss, this." "She stayed with me for 3 years. That's what she deserves." "Got it." "Understood." After hanging up, I sat alone in the empty apartment. I beat Susan. I beat Marco. Hell, I beat everyone. And yet, I felt kind of bored. The whole damn game had ended way too fast. I scrolled down to Fiona's number. On our wedding night, aren't you coming back? She replied almost instantly. I'm keeping a pitiful friend company. He needs me. I smiled. Send me the address. I'm pitiful too, and I need you. Looks like a new game had just started. Chapter 9. I drove to the address Fiona sent. It turned out to be a private hospital. Her so-called pitiful friend was lying in a hospital bed, face pale as hell. Fiona sat beside him, calmly peeling an apple. The moment the guy saw me, a flash of hostility shot through his eyes. Fio, who is he? My husband, Fiona replied without even looking up. The man suddenly sat straight up. You're married? Why the hell didn't you tell me? Why should I tell you? Fiona shot back. I walked over to the bed, picked up an apple, and casually took a bite. Hello, I am Zakari. Get out, the man shouted, pointing at me. Fio is mine. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Yours? Funny. As far as I know, the hospital you're staying in belongs to my family. And the medicine you're using was developed by my company. Believe it or not, with just one word from me, I can have you thrown out of here. The guy's face turned the color of liver. Fio, you're really gonna let him humiliate me like this? Fiona finally looked up at him, calm as ever. Claude, get this straight. He is my husband, and you're my friend. Friend? We are nothing. Fiona stood up. Zachary, let's go home. She slipped her arm through mine without even sparing Claude another glance. Behind us, Claude lost it completely, screaming like a madman and smashing everything on the bedside table. Once we stepped outside the hospital, Fiona let go of my arm. Sorry you had to see that. You're welcome, I said, glancing at her. But honestly, your taste isn't great. Same goes for you, she shot right back. I heard your canary ran away too. I narrowed my eyes. Damn, this woman was something else. Looks like our married life is going to be interesting. I sure hope so. We got into the car and headed back to our newlywed villa. The moment we walked in, Fiona kicked off her high heels. I'm going to take a shower. Together. I raised an eyebrow. She glanced at me. Are you sure? I'm not as obedient as Iris. And I'm not as devoted as Susan. She laughed softly, stepped closer, and hooked her arms around my neck. Then let's try. That night, neither of us mentioned our respective interns. We simply did what husband and wife do. Wild, intense, completely lost in it. Chapter 10. In the end, Susan was sentenced to 3 years for embezzlement and defamation. During the entire court hearing, she never looked at me again. Her parents sold off every asset they had just to barely cover the massive debts her father had racked up. I heard that after her stroke, my former mother-in-law ended up half paralyzed. Susan's mother took on random jobs while caring for her, living a pretty miserable life. As for Marco, I never bothered paying attention to him again. Maybe he's still digging coal somewhere in some mine. Maybe he already died in some foreign land. Doesn't matter. Iris never came back, and I never went looking for her either. The $5 million, plus the apartment and the car, that was what she deserved. My marriage with Fiona, on the other hand, stayed in a strange balance built on mutual respect. By day, we were the perfect power couple everyone admired. By night, we each lived our own lives. Her friend Claude, after recovering, still refused to give up and kept showing up to bother her. And me? Yeah, I'd already picked a new canary. A female college student. Younger. Even more beautiful than Iris. Fiona knew about it, but she never asked a single question. Until one day, Claude barged straight into our house and pointed at Fiona, cursing her as a promiscuous woman. And right at that moment, I happened to walk in. Seeing me only made Claude even more worked up. Zachary, you cowardly turtle. You're really just letting your wife keep other men outside. Fiona frowned. Claude, get out of here. I'm not leaving. Fio, come with me. He can't give you happiness. I calmly took off my coat and handed it to the servant beside me. Claude, right? I said as I walked up to him. Do you know why Fiona didn't choose you? Claude froze. Because you're too damn stupid. I punched him straight in the face. He dropped instantly. You think you're her prince on a white horse? Dude, you're nothing but a tool she used to push back against her family's arranged marriage. Now that we're married, your usefulness is gone. Claude clutched his face and stared at Fiona, in disbelief. Fiona's expression didn't change at all. "Throw him out," I told the security guards. "Fio," Claude looked at her desperately. Fiona finally spoke. "I told you a long time ago. We were over. You're the one who insisted on humiliating yourself." Claude was dragged outside. Fiona turned to me and straightened my tie. "Nice punch. Thanks for the compliment." I wrapped an arm around her waist. "Free tonight." She stood on her tiptoes and whispered softly in my ear. "That depends on your performance."